Welcome to the worst of the best podcast. You wanted the best. Well, they didn't freaking make it! So here's what you get. From Canada, Ryan and Ruben.
All right, welcome to the Worst of the Best podcast. I am your host, Ryan, and with me today is a special guest from the No Redeeming Qualities podcast. We have with us, he goes by the name Zip. So welcome, Zip, to the show.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm ready to talk about some Arnie movies.
The No Redeeming Quality podcast is a podcast that I personally listen to. And for you listeners who happen to listen to this podcast and my Rocky podcast, you've already heard Zip on that podcast. I asked Zip, hey, do you want to do a recording? And he says, I would love to come on the Worst of the Best podcast because I want to talk about Arnold. And I'm like, dude, let's do it. Arnold is one of the biggest actors in the world, of course. He's worldwide known. I mean, when it comes to action stars and to movies and faces of the world, Arnold and Sly, these two guys kind of rule the roost still to this day.
Him and Sylvester Stallone are like a shoo-in for the Mount Rushmore of action stars.
Pick four people. Who's on that mountain?
Arnie and Stallone are for sure. Yeah, I would say maybe Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis is probably on there.
Planet Hollywood.
Yeah, Planet Hollywood. Did you ever eat at a Planet Hollywood?
I want to say that I have. I know I've done a Hard Rock Cafe, but I don't know if I've done Planet Hollywood. I like to think that I have. I like to think that I have given more money to Stallone.
I think it went out of business a long time ago, but I remember I went there for my birthday when I would have been 8 or 9. But other than that, I don't really remember anything about Planet Hollywood. I've also never been to a Hard Rock Cafe, so.
Okay, well, let me tell you, it's pretty much like any kind of food that you'd have at any standard bar and pub, but there's paraphernalia around the walls.
Okay, yeah, so a music-themed Planet Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly. You'll have Bruce Willis's torn-up shirt from Die Hard or things like that.
So I must have gone twice, because I don't think this happened at the birthday party, but I do remember I was in one of them, and they had the prop of the giant cockroach from one of the Freddy Krueger movies. We had to move tables because it was so gross. My mom couldn't eat and look at it.
That is awesome. Well, speaking of Freddy Krueger, of course, when this comes out, it'll be closer to Christmas than it is today. But tomorrow's Halloween. But we just got news that Halloween has been postponed one day due to inclement weather that's happening tomorrow in our neighborhood. We're going to get up to 100-kilometer-hour winds tomorrow.
They can just do that? They can just postpone Halloween?
They did. The city did. Yes, they put out a mass notification. The schools will be announcing that to the children tomorrow for those parents who don't have social media. Apparently, it's a bylaw that you cannot trick-or-treat tomorrow for safety reasons and to also not disturb the peace. Well, it's supposed to be 100-kilometer winds. That's pretty bad. So you got trees and debris, and the power goes out. You're going to have dark everywhere.
That's a very good reason to postpone it. Can't imagine anybody arguing that. Also, it would be a Friday night versus a Thursday night, so that's probably better.
For the parents and for the kids, ironically, it is a little bit better. So we get 2 Friday Halloweens in a row, barring any unforeseen weather for next year.
It's a leap year next year, so it's going to be on Saturday.
Oh. Thank you for that. Okay.
We went and celebrated Halloween last weekend. I went and looked that up because I thought, oh, yeah, next year's going to be on Friday. And it's I'm sorry. Can I swear on this?
Yes, you can because I edited it. Doesn't matter. You say whatever you want. So. We're not live, so do what you want. I'll do editing. Probably do all the editing on your show. I bet you Bob does nothing.
As far as editing, yes, Bob does nothing.
That's what I mean. No, yeah, your co-host, Bob. On the show, he's fantastic. But I meant post-production. He does nothing at all.
Oh, yeah, that's me. That's me. Yeah, that's all me.
That's like me with my brother Ruben, who can't be here tonight because of his work schedule, so that's why Zip's filling in. Yeah, I'm the same way. I do all the editing, all the promotional stuff, everything. But I love my brother all the same. That's okay. Okay, so here we go. Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. This guy, believe it or not, I'm sure our listeners do, he's quite a box office draw. But he doesn't have as many movies as you think with big numbers as you think. That's what I found the most surprising in doing this, putting together this list. So there's 2 things. One, we adjusted the numbers that we'll present with each movie for inflation, because that's important because it tells you the amount of tickets sold if this was released in 2019. Because you hear about the numbers for Endgame or or the new Joker movie, and as well as those movies are doing, they're doing obviously very well. This gives you an idea how well these movies, if they were released today, of course they wouldn't look like the way they do, but if they were tickets sold today, what the numbers are in comparison to modern day movies. Even with the inflation, I'm a little surprised by his numbers.
I guess I kind of thought the same thing. Some of these aren't very surprising, but some of them are. There's one in particular I'm staring at that I'm kind of in disbelief that it's as high as it is. I'm in disbelief that this movie is on the list, yet alone ranked where it is.
Okay, yeah. Well, as our listeners know, if you're a first-time listener to the show, I will explain, because people might be listening to the show because of your audience, Zip. What we do, my brother and I, is we don't pick the best. We find the worst from the best. Whether it's a top 10 list here or top 10 list there, or the greatest movies or music videos or whatever it might be from any artist or collection of lists, we just choose what we think is the worst from that best, because every best of list has something that we still think is a stinker. This list is certainly no exception. The public has spoken. Arnold is a box office draw worldwide, but let's start at the bottom with Escape Plan. This is interesting because this movie, when it came out, I know I was very excited when this movie was announced, because we have a real long time pairing between two childhood action heroes of my childhood, of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone, in a prison drama or action movie, which garnered two terrible sequels that Stallone himself starred in. But the original wasn't so bad. What did you think of Escape Plan?
I did not see Escape Plan.
Okay.
I need to, because like you said, it's got Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. So is it worth going and seeing?
Yes, it's not bad. I mean, there's no way that I'm going to pick the worst right off the bat, or off this list, I should say, with the Sylvester Stallone in it. This is going to be impossible. If you watch this movie, you're not going to be bored. You're not going to be like, oh my goodness, what am I watching here? It's exactly what you think it is. It's Arnold and Sylvester in a prison, and there's no escape, but they figure out how to do it. And there's a corrupt warden. So basically, it's a futuristic lockup with Arnold as well. Had it been released in today's dollars, even though it was only released like 4 or 5 years ago, it would have made $152 million worldwide, which isn't that great. But to be fair, it only cost like $50 million to make, so it made 3 times its budget.
You're a Stallone buff. Why did it take that long for them? Because I know they did the Expendables, but that's not really like them doing it together. Why did it take so long for them to do a movie together? Ego?
Ego. Absolutely. They were in competition throughout the 80s and 90s. And then Schwarzenegger was out of the movie business for 8 years because he was governor of California.
That's true.
And that's almost a decade. And I remember when Arnold went into politics, I thought that was great. I mean, good for him. It goes to show that for him, it's not about the money. He actually did something that he felt was giving back to the country that was, has given him so much. I actually admire him for that. It doesn't matter what you think of his politics. It's just the fact that he actually served the community for 8 years. There's nothing to sneeze at.
A lot of people saw it, he only did it because he's popular and it was an ego thing. But if you've ever read about Schwarzenegger's life outside of movies, it makes total sense that he would do it. He is a go-getter. I mean, he was a successful businessman before he even started acting.
Right.
While he was doing bodybuilding, he owned some kind of a bricklaying company that made him wealthy. So...
Okay, that's awesome. We're not going to get into his obviously his personal life or whatever. I mean, he's made some mistakes, but it's not like he messed around on his marriage. But I would dare say I would be surprised if any celebrity hasn't. To be honest with you, they haven't got caught. It's Arnold, but the fact that he messed around with his nanny or whatever, and she looked terrible.
It just goes to show you that he was just laying it on everyone. It didn't matter how attractive it just, I don't know. I think it's also, we see the pictures of her when the scandal came out, which was 20 years after the fact. I mean, maybe she was more attractive.
Sure. You're
when it happened, but still,
Let's give Arnold the benefit of the doubt. Yes. Next one, Junior. The comedy, quote unquote comedy, Junior came out in 1994, and I saw this in the theaters.
Oh, God.
Well, I keep in mind I was 18, 19 when it came out, and I was a huge Arnold Schwarzenegger mark. At this point in his career and in my young life, I had no reason not to think this wouldn't be a fun movie.
Oh, and it is a fun movie. It's not a great one. I mean, it's stupid as hell. It's that word. It's quintessential comedy Schwarzenegger. Just get him yelling, get him dressed up like a lady,
Yeah. I'll never forget the line from the trailer that we all saw. Then it came out, and when it came out, of course, we would look forward to it in the movie when he complained about his nipples being sensitive.
You just gotta go. What on earth compelled them to make that movie? Like what a off the wall concept that. That Schwarzenegger's carrying a baby, and Danny DeVito is there, and I just...
This came out in 1994, so he was
he that old?
Is my math right?
Let's see. He's a couple years older than my dad, and my dad was born in 1950. Yeah, so he would have been in his early 50s.
He looks really good.
He was in his early 50s when he did Terminator 2?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
I'm just thinking like, God dang, I didn't know he was that old.
Yeah, so this was directed by Ivan Reitman, of course, the popular and successful comedy director. Rest in peace. This was his fourth movie to direct with Arnold in it, because he had a cameo in Dave, but that won't be on our list because cameos don't really count.
Yeah, cameos don't count.
Because Arnold's done a few cameos. He's kind of funny that way. Okay, so that made 171 at the box office. Again, not too bad, and I would assume the budget on that wasn't very high. Yeah, $60 million budget, so it almost tripled its budget as well. Comedies aren't usually too expensive. I bet you half that money went to his pay. There's no special effects really in it or anything.
Yeah.
So have you seen it? You seen it? I meant to ask.
Oh, yeah. I've seen Junior. I have not seen Escape Plan, no.
That's funny.
And I'm looking at the rest of the list, and I've seen the rest of these. So.
Okay, good. Well, here's the thing that's crazy to me. I'm surprised by how low this one is. Predator.
I'm actually not.
Really? Why?
Because I think Predator was kind of a cult classic, wasn't it? Did it not get popular until after it was out of the theaters?
When any action film buff speaks about Predator, it is spoken with reverence. There's nobody that I know that likes Arnold and likes action or likes action who might not even like Arnold who doesn't like Predator. It's impossible. You cannot not like action movies, especially from the 80s, and not like this movie.
I was actually super lucky that the first time I saw Predator, it was on AMC. I missed the very, very, very first part of the movie. So I started watching it when it was all of them in the helicopter going to the jungle. And so I had no idea what it was about. I just thought it was like Commando, some kind of shoot 'em up movie. And then, then the sci-fi Predator itself starts coming out. So, I was 10 and I'm just, good Lord, like it was...
Oh, man, it was such a good movie. I saw it when I was about, the same age, but I saw it on VHS when it was a new release because I was too young to see it in the theaters. It was a pretty violent movie. It came out in 87, but I got it on VHS as a kid, and I bought it. I remember I bought it from the Columbia House Video Club. I watched the crap out of this movie. It's just such a great, great movie. And the scene where they're all laying their ammo down the firing there, they lay the jungle to... nothing with their bolt. They've seen the alien or the Predator take one of the men into the bushes and they just shoot the jungle up. Yeah,
and Jesse Ventura is somehow carrying a minigun. The whole point is that there's supposed to be like a light self-sustained commando force. Oh, let me carry around the heaviest machine gun you could possibly get together. I mean, it's still awesome.
It is amazing. It's amazing. He's carrying a minigun. You got Carl Weathers in this. Talk about a Rocky crossover. You got Carl Weathers in it. You've got Bill Duke, Jesse Ventura. And I was a huge wrestling watcher of the 80s, of course. So seeing Jesse Ventura playing this badass military guy was just amazing. And this movie is directed by action professional director John McTiernan, who did the Die Hard movies. And he also did some other ones. He didn't do so well. Hunt for Red October, though. He did that one as well. This movie is just... Look, this is my favorite Arnold movie.
Huh.
Well, it might be my favorite.
Yeah. The problem you run into with Arnold that you run into usually with these action movies is that when they're great, they're amazing. They're a great time. And when they suck, they really suck.
Yeah. Well, him and Stallone suffer from the same thing. When Stallone knocks out of the park with any Rocky movie, for example, or the Rambo films, when he knocks him out, he knocks him out. But when he's in a dud, they're in a dud. It's weird. Very little gray area when it comes to these two. Okay, so that's the Predator film. Only cost $15 million to make, and it made $100 million back then. So it totally was profitable. But in today's budget, on today's tickets, it's $193. So almost $200 million worldwide on the $40 million budget. So it made its money back and then some.
I'm surprised that it only cost $15 million to make.
Yeah.
That's on a budget.
You heard who was the original Predator, right?
Oh, Jean-Claude Van Damme. And, that had to have been like selective hearing on his part, because apparently he quit doing it when he found out that no one would see his face or anything. And it's like, well, what did you think the alien was going to look like under the mask?
Take a look on YouTube to the early footage of Jean-Claude on Predator. It's out there. The alien creature was actually different as well, and it looked terrible. So the changes they made in Jean-Claude's firing or whatever, leaving, actually helped make the movie that much better because they redesigned the Predator.
I think this might have been another design before the Jean-Claude version, but they had, I think the original script had it be like a Men in Black-esque, like little alien inside of a big suit.
Oh, okay.
But they wanted Arnold to beat it up. And so they thought, well, that's not going to be very entertaining if he's beating up like a tiny alien. So great choice. Great decision. So.
Right. All right. Holidays are around the corner. Some people watch this movie every holiday season. Are you one of these people?
I am one of these people. They do Black Friday up in Canada, right? You guys don't have Thanksgiving. I feel so stupid. I'm sorry.
We have Thanksgiving in October, Canadian Thanksgiving in October, and we do have sales that we kind of mimic with the U.S., definitely. But no, we don't have Thanksgiving in November. And I will say for our listeners, my wife and I, in our military career, we were posted to Washington State, worked at a naval air base there for 4 years, and we really enjoyed it. We had 3 kids born in the States. We have 3 American children. So we love the U.S., and we love our ties there. So often we celebrate Canadian Thanksgiving in October, and we kind of do a doubleheader and do it again in November for American kids.
It's a good holiday. I think a lot of people who don't care for American culture kind of crap on it, but I'm a big fan of Christmas starting on Black Friday.
Yeah.
I don't think until the evening of Thanksgiving, which a lot of years we'll watch Jingle All the Way the evening of Thanksgiving because it's like kicks off the Christmas season. Yeah. This is a total guilty pleasure because this is just an absolutely silly movie.
Yeah. I'm telling everyone, don't celebrate Christmas until after American Thanksgiving. That is what's allowed in my books too. I love that part of being in the U.S. was the celebration of American Thanksgiving, and then it's almost like a really great appetizer to the Christmas season.
It is getting better because there were a couple of years ago, it just felt like Christmas was starting in like September, and it was just absurd. But we at least have this natural barrier to Christmas where it's kind of like you can tell people it's not an arbitrary date. It's like wait until after Thanksgiving. Like Canadians, I guess you guys don't have that. It's kind of a free-for-all then.
What it is here is sometimes people say we don't like to start the Christmas celebration until after Veterans or Remembrance Day, November 11th, to pay respect to the Army veterans, and then after that weekend, you can kind of start talking about Christmas. That's what we kind of do in Canada.
Do you like Jingle All the Way?
It's a guilty pleasure. It's funny. It's silly. You got a father who's trying to get the toy for his kid. You wouldn't have this issue anymore today because of Amazon.
Yeah.
But back in the 90s, this was an issue with parents still clamoring at the toy shelves. Bless Amazon's heart for eliminating a lot of movie plots. And that's what's funny about some of these movies. You can't make some of these movies today because of modern day technology. It takes away the plot.
The other side of that is that it opens up more doors for more stories you can tell. Sure,
yeah. Now this movie made $200 million worldwide, so not a bomb, and it only cost like $20 million. How much it cost? It cost a little bit higher budget, almost $75 million to make, but I would argue again they probably paid.
This cost $75 million.
Yeah. Well, the action sequence at the end, so to speak, when Arnold turns into
Turbo Man.
Yeah,
Turbo Man.
That probably cost a little bit. Of him flying around. And Arnold was probably $20 million.
And I think this was Phil Hartman's last movie, wasn't it?
Yeah, boy.
Rest in peace.
What a tragic way to go. Can you imagine?
Yeah, it's...
Having your spouse shoot you while you're sleeping. That's just insane.
And there's a Big Show cameo. You said you're a wrestling fan, so...
Yeah, that's right.
I don't even think that the Big Show was the Big Show at the time. I think he was still... Was he like the Giant at WCW?
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah, 96. He might have been in 96, actually. This was just before the Attitude Era, yeah.
So they just needed a big-ass guy. That was...
Oh, he played like a cop or a mall guard or something, didn't he?
when Arnold Schwarzenegger gets into the fight with all the mall Santas.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And Big Show is one of the mall Santas.
And Jake Lloyd played his son. That was the Anakin Skywalker from Phantom Menace.
We all know how great his career went, so man, I do feel for him because, he suffers from schizophrenia now as an adult, and it's just like they say a lot of those are stress-induced disorders, and, so much negativity about his role when he was like an 8-year-old, like.
Yeah, I think the wrong actor was shot.
Oh God!
We could have used Phil Hartman's laughter more than Jake Lloyd's.
Oh, I would sacrifice Sinbad before the child.
Okay. You're right. Why did it say he had to be shot as a child? Like, now would have been fine. Holy so we might not curse, but we can get pretty dark on this show. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the next one, speaking of child actors and adult stars, we got The Last Action Hero. So Junior I saw in the theaters. Predator I did not. Jingle All the Way I did not. Last Action Hero I did see in the theaters. And actually, that's the last time I've seen that movie.
Oh, man. The Last Action Hero, I think, is an AMC one for me because I don't think I've seen it more than once.
Right. No.
So, I wasn't particularly crazy about it.
And this one was directed as well by John McTiernan, who directed Predator. So Arnold and John were hoping to recreate the magic they made on Predator.
And they missed. Yeah. They missed that mark very significantly.
Now, but this is a movie, I think, that have not to say that it was ahead of its time, but it's one of the ones that kind of winked at itself because it's Arnold playing himself in a satirical way. And so I think with the right writing, I think it had a clever idea. Yeah, it was a clever pitch that didn't turn out to be a clever movie. I think with the right writers today, because we have some really good people that can write today in today's movies, this would have been a great nod at Arnold's career of an action star, and he's an aging action star and all that stuff. So the idea was clever, but it just didn't pan out.
I think it probably suffered from the same thing that the movie Little Shop of Horrors did, where you go into it thinking it's going to be like a full-blown action movie, but, it's this kind of self-aware quasi-comedy, and it's probably just not what people were expecting. And looking at how much it made, that surprises me. Yeah. I never would have thought that would have made that much freaking money.
Yeah, it made $217 million worldwide, so it made money, and it made its money back, but it didn't make enough to warrant a sequel. And speaking of sequels, Arnold doesn't do too many of those, does he?
The exception, the very, very famous franchise that he did that we're going to talk about later.
He's not big into sequels, really. He's got a couple that we'll talk about. Peak of his career was during a time when movies weren't sequels heavy as they are today.
Yeah.
So $217 million. Now we're reaching the $300 million mark of his movies. End of Days, I'm surprised it is where it is a little bit, but it made $308 million worldwide.
There's another movie that Schwarzenegger did that's not on this list, and the name is escaped. Was it called The Sixth Day?
Yes.
Did another movie around that time period, and I think you could put a gun to my head and I cannot differentiate those two movies.
Really?
End of Days is the one where is it Kevin Pollak pisses on something and it sets him on fire?
Well, yes, End of Days came out in 1999. It was an American supernatural action horror film directed by Peter Hyams. The film follows former New York Police Department detective Jericho Kane. I love that, how his name is Jericho Kane. After he saves a banker from an assassin, but he finds himself embroiled in a religious conflict and must protect an innocent woman who is chosen by evil forces to conceive the Antichrist with Satan.
Yeah. Odd choice for Schwarzenegger.
It is a very odd choice. This would have been his first type of religious type drama. I actually walked out of the theater on this movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because it was bad, or did something offend you?
Well, I will say at the time that I was quite religious at the time. And I think that played into part of it. I'm not opposed to seeing movies that deal with religion or even with a Satan character or, the conflict of evil. Because really, whether it's the dark side of the force or the devil, it's the same type of conflict, supernatural conflict, right? So it was a part of that. I was quite orthodox at the time, and so there was a part of me that kind of felt uncomfortable. I'm not a big fan of these type of occult movies, and so it was a little bit more than I knew what the premise was about, but it was a little bit more than I anticipated. It was just too gross, too much for me at the time. This was 20 years ago. Would I be able to sit through it today? Maybe. But I was also bored too.
Yes.
It didn't engage me. I wouldn't say it just offended me, but it offended my time and my energy. And I was like, I wasn't enjoying the movie. And I actually got my money back. I said, this movie isn't what I thought it'd be. And they gave me my money back on my way out.
It's a really bad combination for a movie to be offensive to somebody and also bore them.
Yes.
You're giving them absolutely no reason to stay in the seat.
My sensitivities could probably handle the subject matter today, but I would probably be just as bored. That made $308 million at the box office. And I remember being excited by this movie because it also spawned a new music song by Guns N' Roses, who kind of lay dormant at the time.
I'm not a big Guns N' Roses guy.
All right, I am.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. You don't. Either you are or you're not. It's fine. Talk about two polar opposite movies. His next big box office success was the movie Kindergarten Cop. Made $350 million worldwide. I'm old enough that I saw this in the theaters.
This is like a second tier to Jingle All the Way, but also incredibly entertaining.
Yes. Directed again by Ivan Reitman. Came out in 1990. It only cost $26 million, and it went on to gross close to $350 million worldwide. So big box office.
Good God.
Big box office. How old did we say he was? He was born in, 47? Yeah, so he was... What's 90 minus 47? He was 43 in this film.
He would have been 43, yeah.
That's my age. So weird looking at him on this movie poster. He's my age in this film. Do you ever do that? Do you ever compare your age to an actor's age, especially from movies from the past? I do. I do it all the time in my old age.
Hitler didn't commit genocide until his 40s, so I try not to get bogged down in what I've accomplished. I just turned 30, so...
Oh, you're a youngin'. Boy.
Yeah.
Bless you.
I was going to say, there's a reason I haven't seen most of these movies in theaters is I wasn't alive yet.
Well, keep in mind, this was your topic of choice.
Oh, I know. There, I didn't get to see them in theaters. I just got to see them on, VHS and yeah.
Yeah, well, this was a great movie. A lot of fun, and I remember getting a kick out of it. So, of course, the big lines, it's not a tumor, and he yells, shut up. And as a parent, I know that very well, the shut up. Oh,
would this have been Schwarzenegger's first comedy?
No, we're getting to it. Yeah, you'll know.
Okay. I see.
This was directed by Ivan Reitman again. Yeah, another successful comedy hit with Arnold and Ivan. And this is the thing about Arnold compared to Sly that I give points to Arnold, is Arnold can do comedy. And I think he has the advantage because he's just such a freak of nature. And he's got the funny voice.
Yeah.
And I mean freak because he's bigger than the average man.
Even to Austrians, apparently what part of Austria he's from, they have like the ridiculous accent amongst the Austrians. Like they're the ones with the super thick accents. So, then he comes over here and it doesn't help that he's got this crazy ass weird name and he's like built like Hercules and Stallone never seemed like he laughed at himself as much as Schwarzenegger did.
Hold that thought. I agree with you. I just got to go check something for the wife. I meant to tell you, I might have a couple of interruptions. I'm home alone with the kids. So far they've been really good. But I just got to check.
Tell them to shut up.
Yeah, shut up!
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
All right, back.
All right.
I agree with you about saying that I think Sly, he doesn't seem to... He takes himself too seriously. At least he did during the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. It's a Stallone comedy. Stop or My Mom Will Shoot? Is that the only one?
He did that. He did Oscar.
I don't even remember Oscar. Like a testament to Schwarzenegger's sense of humor is do you remember it was either the first or the second time he was on the campaign trail for governor, he got hit with an egg, and his immediate reaction was he said he wanted him to throw bacon at him too.
What about this reaction? You got hit by an egg. What do you think of it? well, this guy owes me bacon now. I mean, there's no two ways about it, because, I mean, you can't just have eggs without bacon. But this is just all part of, the free speech. I think it's great. You see these people here screaming out. Imagine you're in some communist state or in some dictatorship. You couldn't do that. That's why I love this country. And you have to take the whole package when you love something. I think that California is great. I think America is great. Everyone can speak out. Everyone has freedom of speech. That's what creates the ultimate of democracy. So I believe in that, and I welcome that.
Right.
And I just think in 1989, if you hit Stallone with an egg, right, I don't think he would have saw it as very funny.
Agreed. All right, well, speaking of comedies, we got Arnold in another one. Batman and Robin.
An unintentional comedy. I had a poster of Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze on my wall.
Oh, you are young. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
How old were you in 97?
I would have been 8 years old.
Oh, there you go.
As a kid, I loved Batman and Robin.
Sure.
I mean, it was fun. It was stupid. It had Mr. Freeze, and it was it was like the best of both worlds. It was Mr. Freeze and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right.
Now, I will say that the movie does suck. It's a terrible movie.
Yes, of course.
But George Clooney in particular is possibly the worst Batman to ever don the suit.
Yeah.
He was George Clooney in a Batman costume. Like, he wasn't even trying.
I used to watch ER, and I kind of liked him okay in that. But I remember when he left to go do movies, I thought, oh, really? He's going to be a movie star? And I will say he's not that great of an actor.
He's a heartthrob.
He's a handsome man, and I'm sure he's a nice guy, and he's not very engaging. He doesn't really capture the screen the way I think he thinks he was going to.
Now, do you know any of the history behind why Arnold Schwarzenegger ended up as Mr. Freeze? Because regarding like Mr. Freeze, the character, it makes no sense because the original character, the non-Schwarzenegger version, barely talks. And he talks very kind of soft-spoken. He's cold, do you get it? He's a cold kind of introvert, kind of scrawny, and that's why he has the suit. So then they were like, you know what? Let's change it to where he's a giant hulk of a person who does nothing but throw one-liners. It's a bizarre choice.
Tonight's forecast. A freeze is coming. Allow me to break the ice. You're not sending me to the cooler. Freeze well. What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age! Stay cool, bird boy. Let's kick some ice.
Show some mercy.
I'm afraid that my condition has left me cold to your pleas of mercy. All right, everyone. Chill. It's a cold town. Cool party. Can you be cold, Batman? Chilled to perfection. Revenge is a dish best served cold. Winter has come at last. Freeze. Freeze. Ice. Freeze. Icy. Winter forever. Frozen. Icy. Freeze. Winter ice. Ice. Freeze. Winter. Winter. Freeze. Cold. Frosty.
Patrick Stewart was originally considered for Mr. Freeze.
See, that at least makes sense. I could see that. That makes me upset. That would have been a better choice.
Yeah,
and then you should have had Schwarzenegger be Bane,
Oh, yeah, that was... Yeah. If we could have recast this film in 97 and gave it a serious direction, it could have been a fun film. What makes it not a good film, obviously, it went too campy, too childlike. I like the idea of Batman and Robin. Of course, the movie did not deliver in any way, shape, or form. Oh,
we got bat nipples, though.
We did get bat nipples. That was important.
And a bat credit card.
Does Bruce Wayne have his own bank, I guess?
I guess he's just banking on the financial institute, not investigating who owns the bat credit card. But anyway, this movie is awful. It's a terrible, terrible film. It killed the Batman franchise at the time until Chris Nolan about 10 years later took it back. Yeah. It kind of killed superhero movies, too, until X-Men.
People forget that it was actually X-Men that revitalized the comic book movies.
It was X-Men and then swiftly followed by Spider-Man.
And then Batman.
And then probably, Chris Nolan, Batman, yeah.
The year before Batman and Robin, this movie, I am surprised how high it is on the list. I don't understand, but I guess it just came out at a certain time when I know Arnold was still a draw.
This is the one I was referencing. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. $370 million at the box office there, Zip. And that movie is Eraser. What?
It's a terrible movie. It's a generic action movie, and then one that's not on this list. A couple years later, he made Collateral Damage. I mean, Eraser is just collateral damage as far as, what it is. How this made $370 million.
Right, it's weird.
That must have been a lot of dissatisfied moviegoers.
It is so weird.
The only thing about this movie that in my brain is even worth remembering is that one of my sisters collects erasers, like the ones you put on a pencil.
Right.
One Christmas, I got half-price books. And this is after VHS had gone out. It was DVDs. I got her the VHS of Eraser and wrapped it. Everybody would give her a gift, and then they'd put like an eraser in it, to build her collection. And I thought it was going to be the funniest thing I ever did, and not a single person in my family laughed when she opened it. Completely fell flat. Nobody understood it.
That's hilarious.
I had a science teacher in middle school. We watched parts of Eraser because she was teaching us something about X-rays or something like that. Overall, this is an incredibly forgettable movie.
Yeah. The film follows a U.S. Marshal who protects a senior operative testifying about an illegal arms deal and is forced to fight his former allies when one of the players is revealed to be a mole.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Now we're getting to the big stuff. Now, I combined the two box office, but this movie, early in his career, did much better than I thought it did at the box office. So Conan the Barbarian, and its sequel, Conan the Destroyer, made a combined box office of $387, and 3/4 of that box office was from Conan the Barbarian. So it belongs on the list all the same. But it almost made $400 million worldwide, those two movies. Why have they not followed up with a third one? The King Conan is the biggest disappointment to not happen in Schwarzenegger's career. It's very frustrating. He's getting old now, but King Conan is old, but that story needs to get done.
But Conan the Barbarian, I never read the original, the Pulp Fiction magazine, where the original stories came from. As a standalone film, it is very entertaining.
And it has an orgy scene. Remember that? Yeah,
what's funny about that is I got that from Blockbuster as a kid. I have no idea why my dad thought that was okay. We watched it. That was, So, watching an orgy scene with your dad when you're like 9.
It's so funny. Now, for our listeners, we're not talking what you would find on the internet today. I'm just saying it was a group of people in this weird, occult type ceremony, and they're all in the kind of in the background a little bit. There's a variety of people just making love.
Oh, and then there's an explicit sex scene in I think the first third of the movie where he has sex with the witch. I can't quite remember. He throws her in the fire. That's right. Yeah, it's like hanging dong. I mean, it's a full-on sex scene, But
this made this movie itself made almost on its own $340 million at the box office,
which is why Schwarzenegger did Conan the Destroyer, just because it made so much money.
And it just bombed.
Conan the Destroyer has its moments. It just feels like an imitation of the first one. There's a great picture from Conan the Destroyer. If you want to put it in perspective, Arnie's a big dude. He's 6 foot something, obviously very, very muscular. There's the picture of him in between Wilt Chamberlain and Andre the Giant. It just makes you go like, oh my God, Andre the Giant is such a big guy,
right. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I know which picture you're talking about, yeah.
Because Andre the Giant was the voice of the dragon at the end, right?
Was that right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was I don't think his person was in the movie, but I think he voiced the dragon at the end where they pull the horn out and, there's a wizard, and I don't really remember the rest. But
if they needed someone just to mumble.
Oh, and James Earl Jones in the first one, when he turned into the snake, that scared the shit out of me as a kid. You can tell that it's practical effects now, but, as a kid, that really did freak the shit out of me.
Did you ever see, in the same vein and around the same time, the movie called Beastmaster?
I have never seen Beastmaster.
Beastmaster creeped crud out of me. It was about a guy who was able to command animals, right? So he's a Beastmaster, and these animals were able to help him throughout his medieval, science fiction fantasy adventures in a Conan-like type land. And there was a scene in Beastmaster where these winged witch creatures, humanoid witch creatures, wrap their wings around the body of a person, and basically when they opened up their wings, the person turned into goo and just slapped on the ground like a stew. And that sequence, I saw this as a child, has scarred me to this day.
I remember, somebody told me that apparently on HBO, I didn't have HBO growing up, but they would show Beastmaster so much that people said HBO stood for "Hey, Beastmaster's on." I don't know if that's true or not.
That might be where I saw it.
But that's probably the only thing I know.
We had the movie channel for a little while there. I remember as a kid we had the HBO as a kid. Because I remember thought it was so cool that we could watch movies without commercials. And the one movie, so I think I saw it then. I must have seen it then. The other movie that came on all the time, and this is really a deep cut, the movie Tank.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Okay, after this show, Google Tank trailer from the 80s. And I think it's a guy that goes like stir crazy and uses the tank to cause mayhem in the city.
I imagine that it was just those were the films they got the rights to, so they bled it dry.
Yeah, so Tank was on all the time, and when you're a kid and there's nothing else on TV, you watch Tank. So Twins came out in 1988. This was a huge smash, making $411 million. Of course, the movie stars Arnold Schwarzenegger with his twin brother, Danny DeVito.
I like it.
Yeah,
it's a very funny movie. Unlike Junior, I think the premise is also kind of silly, but it does have a little bit more kind of a drama feel to it, just a hair more a heart to it, because when Danny DeVito, what did he literally said? He's the genetic leftovers.
You came out first, of course. We weren't expecting him.
This must be where you made the milkshake.
We weren't making milkshakes. We're making the most fully developed human the world has ever seen.
But instead of just one perfect kid, Mom had the two of us. Way to go, Mom.
Wrong. The embryo did split in two, but it didn't split equally. All the purity and strength went into Julius. All the crap that was left over went into what you see in the mirror every morning.
Whoa. You telling me I'm the crap?
No, this is not true,
Well,
Vincent.
wait a minute, Julius. I want to hear this. You telling me that I am the leftover crap, that I'm no good?
He's wrong.
Look at him.
You saying that I'm a side effect?
You haven't got the brain power to understand this, and I haven't got the time. Show's over.
Hey, dickhead. Tell us where Mother is.
Whispering Pines. It's an artist colony 200 miles north of Santa Fe.
If you're lying to me, I'll be back.
Yeah, because smaller amount.
That's funny, but that is also sad because and also Danny DeVito is a midget, or is he just a really short guy?
Well, did you ever watch Taxi?
Oh yeah. My parents like to watch Taxi.
Yeah, I guess I'm aging myself. I love Taxi, and Danny DeVito, he was great in that TV show. He played the boss who worked in the cage, and he'd get so angry, he'd hang from the cage with his hands and feet like a monkey. He's not tall. He's 4'10".
Yeah, that's got to be the cutoff to be a midget. That's got to be.
I think under 5 is officially a midget.
Is it? Okay, well.
What I love about this movie is Arnold, actually, you get to see his comedy chops a little bit. So he would have been 41 in this film. He really played the fish out of water really well, like the kind of adorable character. He loved his little brother that he hadn't seen his whole life, and he protects him with his brute strength, but he's got a kind heart, innocence, kind of almost a naivety, and he plays it very well.
And then Danny DeVito also just had to play himself.
Cankerous, loud. Now, Danny DeVito, he has been old his whole life, right?
Yeah. He's like Chris Lloyd, also from Taxi, where you've always been an old man.
You've always been old. But he was.
And the Tommy Lee Jones is the worst. Tommy Lee Jones is the absolute worst about that.
Tommy Lee Jones has never. No, to Tommy Lee Jones' credit, he hasn't aged in 35, 40 years.
Yeah, there's going to be a point where I'm going to look like Tommy Lee Jones and he'll still look like Tommy Lee Jones.
That's what I mean. Like, he has been 75 for the past 40 years. Danny DeVito in this film, he was about 42. So he was the same age as Schwarzenegger.
He looks 42 in that, but like in Taxi, he looks like an older man.
Why is it the people that we saw as older when we're growing up, like actors or even a grandparent, and then we see their photos of them when they were younger than we are now, whatever age you're looking back, and they still look older than you are at the time now?
I've always thought about that. I think it might have to do with the clothes they wear and maybe the way they cut their hair. It is true. Just people looked older back then.
I see pictures of my dad, for example, when he was in his 20s, and he still looks like he's my dad who's older than me, even though I'm looking at a picture of him when he's 25 years younger than I am now. It's just, it's weird.
People in my family age hard, so that doesn't, that's, my dad has 4 boys, and we're all about 5 years older than apart from each other, and that when you get us in a line, you can just see the progress of what, like, I'm the youngest, so I can look ahead of the line, and I'm okay. That's what I'm gonna look like when I'm 35, when I'm 40, when I'm 45, when I'm 50. What was the budget for Twins?
Well, it couldn't have been too much. I mean, there was really very little effects and stuff. Let's see here. The budget was only $18 million. Box office was $450 million. And there's a rumor they're doing a sequel called Triplets with Eddie Murphy.
I would watch that.
All right, the next one. I saw this in the theaters, Total Recall. I think I was in 9th grade. This would have been my first hard R movie that I ever saw in the theaters where I know that I kind of snuck in. No, I was 15. And this is from the same director-writers of RoboCop. So I knew that Paul Verhoeven, he delivers when it comes to violence and action. I saw this in the theaters, and I'm so glad I did. When you're 15 and see this movie as a 15-year-old kid back in the day, it's right up your alley. You're just left like in awe of how insane it is.
That seems like a good age for the triple boob.
Yeah, I remember thinking at the time, like, should I like this more?
Yeah, I definitely got some conflicted feelings about the triple boob, but
I remember thinking they did a great makeup job. Like, where does one begin and the other one?
I always wondered that too. Is the fake one like in the center, or did they push the other two to the side? You know, I don't quite know how breasts work. Sorry.
I think the schematics is that they must have put the third one, like kind of in the middle.
Yeah, in the middle. Yeah, that's.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. It had a pretty healthy budget between $50 and $60 million, which would have been close to 90 to 100 today. It made, in today's money, $451 million. So certainly nothing to sneeze at.
It's also got some good prime Schwarzenegger puns in it.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of great ones in here, and throughout Arnold's career in general. But so at the time, this was one of the most expensive films ever made.
No shit, really?
Yeah.
I might have to go back and rewatch this one because I don't think I've seen it in a long time. I know they remade it, so I'm sure the remake's awful.
It's horrible.
Yeah, I don't usually do remakes.
All right. Now we're getting to the big guns. Literally, True Lies, $600 million worldwide.
And a solo movie, just one.
Just one.
This isn't even a franchise, just one. Well, that's James Cameron for you.
Yeah, Boy, it's so fun. There's so many James Cameron haters, but there's something about him where he can get the box office.
If you're going to hate James Cameron, he made Terminator and Terminator 2. He made Aliens. He made True Lies. He made Titanic. I never seen Avatar. As far as like not having a large volume of work, what he has done is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. A lot of people just don't like him. They just don't like him. Anyone that's successful in their whatever field they're in, there's a little bit of a narcissism in there. There's a little bit of an ego.
He also led the second expedition to the Mariana Trench. It's like, okay, if it had to be anybody, I guess it should be James Cameron. Okay. What did you think of Avatar?
At the time, I know I got sucked into the hysteria of it, and I remember seeing it in theaters. It was a visual spectacle for sure. That's where I give full credit to James Cameron, where he pushes technology, and it helps all their movies in the meantime. You look back at it now, it doesn't hold up, but it's like we've already surpassed what it's done with CGI, because of technology just advances so quickly. But he's doing that again apparently with what he's doing now. Whatever he's doing now, apparently it's reinventing film again with the Avatar sequels that he's working on. I'm looking forward to seeing how he pushes the film boundary again Why not?
And I never saw Avatar because, honestly, it just didn't interest me at the time. 3D stuff gives me a headache.
Yeah, I don't go out of my way to watch it.
It's been about 10 years or so since Avatar came out, and I feel like every time I hear somebody tell me about a sequel, there's another one. It's like, oh, he's making 5 new Avatars and a theme park. Well, make the second one and also get an original plot. I know the synopsis is essentially Dances with Wolves. It's also Pocahontas. It's not a very original story. Unobtainium. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Good remembering.
That's such a stupid name. You call it. Oh, okay. Anyway.
One thing I loved about True Lies in 1990 is we got to see Jamie Lee Curtis in quite a fun little dance routine.
Yeah, I don't know. Jamie Lee Curtis is like my mom's age.
Well, she's 32 in that film.
Really?
Yeah, because she was born in 58 and the movie... Oh, sorry, let me scratch that. It's a little bit older. She would have been 94. She was born in 58. She was 36. She was 36 in True Lies.
Okay.
Still, I mean...
I also just never found her to be particularly attractive.
I've always had a thing for her. I even had a thing for her before this film came out because I was a big Halloween fan as well, the original movie.
Yeah.
And her mother, Janet Leigh, another very attractive woman. And I just, good genes. Yeah.
Now, True Lies, as far as action movies go that Arnold has made, with the exception of some of the cyborg theme movies we're going to talk about here in a minute, this is probably the most straight and narrow movie he made.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's an action movie. It's a thriller, but it's not like Commando. It doesn't really have any crazy sci-fi elements or campiness to it.
Yeah, and it has comedy. Basically, he plays a secret agent. Jamie Lee Curtis's role in it. She's the wife to him. She has no idea. She thinks he's just a boring businessman. She's getting restless in their marriage. The idea that she gets wrapped up in his adventure of a secret spy or and all that stuff, and they rekindle their relationship through this adventure. It's quite clever and quite a fun movie. And you can see how it made so much because you can see dates going to this movie because it had the elements that were a little bit light for those that were. Yeah,
that's probably it. Now that you say that, it was probably the fact that you could get a couple that would want to go see this movie.
Yeah, exactly. All right, now I threw this in, and we don't have to have it. It's not going to make my worst cut anyways, but I threw it in just because I wanted to show how big this trilogy, how much money this trilogy actually made. And people might be surprised by this, but Arnold was in all 3 of them, even though he cameoed in the first one. And he had a bigger role by far in the second one, and the healthy one in the third one. But the Expendables trilogy made $904 million worldwide.
That doesn't surprise me.
But that's actually a healthier number than I anticipated when I did the numbers.
I don't know if I've seen the second and third Expendables.
Whoa.
I know. These movies came out at a period where I really wasn't seeing a lot of movies. I also kind of just felt like I already knew the story before I saw it.
The action sequences and everything are actually a lot more fun than you might have thought originally. Like it's a fun trilogy. It really is. You're not bored. You can't be an action an action fan of film and watch these and go, "Oh, that was boring." It's not challenging your brain cells. It's just a fun romp. It's exactly what it intends to be, and on that level, they're fun. But I just wanted the audience to hear how much movies the Expendables actually made. That Stallone.
That's $300 million a pop. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, it's not too bad. And that's a Stallone creation, so I have to give him a shout-out. And this is where Stallone gets another point that Arnold doesn't get. So Arnold gets points in the comedy section, in his versatility section, I agree. But Stallone gets points for his creativity. Stallone has directed and written many films where Arnold has done neither.
Yeah, Arnold's definitely more of an on-screen guy.
Right.
All right, well, now on to the... This probably is not very surprising. Now, when you included, I'm assuming, all the way up to Genesis?
Yes, but I only included the 4 movies that he was in. Because there was we're talking about, of course...
Oh, that's right. He wasn't in Salvation. Yeah.
So here you go, folks. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are like, oh, I know how much money these have made. But here we go. The Terminator movies, the 4 that he was in, so Terminator, T2, Judgment Day, Terminator 3, The Rise of the Machines, and then Terminator Genesis... combined box office of $2.07 billion.
That's crazy.
So is it any wonder that they're doing another movie with Arnold in the Terminator franchise?
People might not remember this. That's even what's even more staggering about that is that Terminator 3 didn't even get a full release. at least here in the States, they had to pull it from the theaters because he started running for office.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I'm sure we live in America. We're in a hellscape nightmare right now. So I'm sure I'm sure everybody would ignore those rules now. But yeah, it was like, if a movie's supposed to run for 6 months, it only ran for 3 because they had to pull it.
Well, your country's doing just fine. Who's your president again? Is he doing okay?
Hopefully by the time that this drops, that America will still have electricity. That's kind of how you don't want to get me on a rant on Trump. Arnold is actually probably one of the single digit Republicans in this country that I tolerate and respect. Yeah. That's
right. There's no way in any way, shape, or form the Terminator franchise or T1 or T2 would ever be on anyone's worst list. Come on.
My fiance has not really ever seen any Schwarzenegger movies at all. As we record this, Dark Fate's coming out soon, so I might use that as an excuse to get him to watch Terminator and Terminator 2.
Yeah, because Dark Fate is a direct sequel to T2.
Yes. Yeah, it's a reboot of T3, essentially.
Sort of. So for our listeners who have any interest in the Terminator films and you think to yourself, gee, I want to go see, we're sponsored by Terminator Dark Fate, so we'd like to thank our sponsor, Terminator Dark Fate. Yeah, it's a direct sequel to T2, so keep that in mind.
My dad got in trouble for letting me watch Terminator 2 when I was probably way, way, way too young because it scared the absolute crap out of me.
Oh, really?
So scared of Terminator 2.
Yeah.
But you want to know what scene jacked me up the most?
Sure.
When the security guard walks and he sees the other Terminator who turns into people and stabs him through his eye. Oh my God, that scared the crap out of me.
That was awesome. Now,
yeah, I mean, it was,
but you were younger, of course. I saw this movie in 1991. I was the age of 16. The listeners have to understand there was no internet. I didn't see any trailers. I won tickets.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was already a huge Arnold fan, so I already loved Arnold. Saw first Terminator, and I knew that this was coming from the director of Aliens, the director of Terminator 1, the director of The Abyss. So I knew James Cameron's work very well. I was already a follower of his at the time. There was a comic book store that was giving away, for the first 100 people to their store, free tickets to an early screening of T2. Well, I hopped on a bus and went down to Curious Comics on Yates Street in Victoria, British Columbia. I'll never forget. They're there to this day, actually. Still hanging on. I walked in and got my tickets. Me and my buddy, right? So we go to the theater. I'll never forget the moment when Arnold... Because at this time, I'm thinking... If you see this movie, you think the T-800, Arnold's Terminator, is the bad Terminator. People don't understand the way the movie's filmed. If you don't know, it's filmed that the cop is there to stop Arnold. Not from saving the boy, but from killing the boy. Because we know in the first Terminator, he was a killer.
Yeah.
So you don't know that he is good in this movie. The trailers did not reveal this at the time. This was back in the day when things were still not spoiled. So spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen T2. But,
yeah, come on.
Yeah. But keep this in mind. This was equivalent to finding out Darth Vader was Luke's father. Like, you didn't know this going in. Yeah.
I never thought about that. Yeah.
Try to watch it thinking you don't know the story. And when you watch it, the Terminator is hunting for the boy, and the talking Terminator, the T-1000, have you seen this boy? Have you seen this boy? We're led to believe that he has been sent back the same way that Reese was sent back in Part 1. When they go in the hallway and the boy looks back and forth between the T-1000, the T-800, and then Arnold pulls out the gun, and little nod to Guns N' Roses. Did you catch that? The gun and roses fall out?
Yeah,
I love it. Sorry, it's a GNR fan that I went, woo, in the theater. And then the T-1000 starts shooting, and Arnold takes the bullets, and then he shoots back. And I'm like, why isn't he shooting the boy? And then I'm like, oh my gosh, the cop's trying to shoot the boy. And then the things suck in, and me and my buddy, we literally, 16 years old, okay? We have never seen technology or CGI like this in our life. We leaped out of our seats and hooped and hollered like we were at a rock concert.
Because, yeah, I didn't get it from that perspective because I saw T1 and T2, on VHS. What is the first... oh my God, CGI moment in T2 for somebody who that was new, uncharted territory? Was it when he shoots him in the head with the shotgun?
It was that hallway scene because the T-1000 gets a boom, 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 and then the T-800 stands over the T-1000, and the bullets sink into themselves. And I'll never forget
Okay.
it. I turned to my buddy and I said, how is he going to kill this thing? And we were just on the edge of our seat the whole film. We just could not believe it. And then, of course, when he walks out of the fire and then he readjusts his face, and if you'll notice, when the T-1000 readjusts himself, he actually fixes his hair at the end. And we were just like, we couldn't believe it. So I'm telling you, Zip, kids are spoiled today with CGI, I admit. But I'm telling you, I lived in the golden age of this advancement because for us, CGI was so foreign. I'd never seen this liquid changing motion. It was like, I couldn't believe they could do this on a movie. I was blown away.
Right around that exact same time, Jurassic Park came out, which had a lot of cutting-edge CGI as well for the dinosaurs.
Right.
Must be something in your brain because you watch Jurassic Park, you watch Terminator 2 now,
Right.
and it still holds up.
Smart filmmaking. Same with the Star Wars original trilogy, because it was done with smart, and it was done with intelligence. It wasn't just a bunch of CGI. It was storytelling, and that's the key. It's storytelling.
My co-host on No Redeeming Qualities, Bob, he's a huge movie guy, like huge. Like his dad is kind of describing the same thing you did. He's told me before that it has to do with the fact that they still took shadowing into consideration and lighting with the CGI versus a lot of people just do the CGI, and that's why it doesn't blend in with the scene as well.
Yeah, I like it. You ready for your worst pick? I hope our fans have listened. I hope our fans have enjoyed our exhaustive / not exhaustive, because really you could have an Arnold podcast easily, and I think there's probably some.
Oh, because there's some gems that aren't even on this list. Running Man, Commando. As far as the worst of these, it's got to go to it's got to be Eraser.
Oh wow! Ooh.
I mean, because Batman and Robin at least is so bad that it's almost funny.
Right? Yeah. It's
but Eraser is just
here's
forgettable.
Here's how it works. To help you, if you want to stick with your choice, absolutely, because you can change. The rules can change before the episode end. You are forced to watch all these movies again, but you get to pick one not to watch. If that makes sense. Which one can you say, I don't have to watch that one? So I'm forced to watch all these movies, but you get to get rid of one.
I will actually change my answer to End of Days.
Yeah.
Despite
my feelings on End of Days, the reason why I'm not picking that, it's close. I think it's my second, to be honest with you. If I was forced to watch all these again, which some would love to do again, the one that I could do without seeing again, because I have seen it all the way through, and End of Days would just be interesting for me to watch it again with my eyes of today, and the fact that I haven't quite finished the movie, I might as well see the ending. Junior. The whole idea of a pregnant man is repulsive to me. The comedy quickly depleted with the idea of a man being pregnant when you saw Arnold pregnant. And the idea that there's a baby in that stomach, and I'm like, oh my gosh. There's no part of his body that truly... Because the male body is just different than the female body. And there's just nowhere. Where is this baby being handled in this body? Where's the placenta? And I was just like, I couldn't. All I could do was envision a baby growing in Arnold's tummy, and I was just. It might be the grossest image I've ever had in my life.
Obviously, the baby was a C-section.
You
would think that they would be like, let's pick the most muscular, tough person that we're gonna have to cut through.
I know
to get to this baby.
Doesn't he have abs?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
okay, all right. Oh, see,
well, I don't know. I mean, how does it work with a lady who has a C-section?
I don't know. I guess they have to cut open all that body part to get the baby. So I guess they would have to cut his abs open. Those precious abs would have been.
Well, hold on.
Am I wrong? I don't know.
I think a C-section is kind of more across the pubic area where the stomach meets the waist.
Okay.
And not directly over the stomach.
Oh gosh. Okay.
So maybe you don't have to cut through abs. Is this grossing you out?
No, I'm not a big medical. There's a reason I'm not a doctor. One, I'm not smart enough.
Me and my fiance, we're a same-sex couple, and we're looking to have a kid in the next couple of years. So
which one of you?
This is what we're gonna have to do. This is what we're gonna have to do. Yeah. So,
I think I was gonna need to research the film to see how one of you can. Oh, okay. Oh, that's hilarious. So that's my pick. That's my worst because it's not only is it just not funny, really. Anyway, I don't think it would hold up. I think I would rather just see how End of Days ends. How does Arnold...
You want to see the end of days.
Yes, how does Arnold beat up the devil? Oh my goodness. Okay, well, thank you so much, Zip, for coming on, and this was a wonderful time recording with you. You're a great podcaster in your own right. You put me to shame, so thank you.
Oh, don't say that.
No, I mean you're a natural. You're natural, and I want to again plug your show, the No Redeeming Qualities podcast. I will say to our listeners who want to go over to listen to their show, it's quite blue. And there's some cursing, so it's not safe for work, but it's hilarious. And but it's not just you guys are crass, but you're not crass for procrastinating. In fact, I will say, because I've listened to every single one of your episodes from day one, I will say that you guys have eased up a little bit. You're a little bit more user friendly.
That was actually a conscious decision when we started to get a fan base. It's kind of like, if this offensive content is going to push away more people than it would pull in, then what's the point?
No, that's fine.
It
doesn't. But I want to make it known, as a longtime listener since day one, or since episode 1, that it has not taken away from your content or your the way you deliver. And I will say that, in fact, I think it actually has helped you. You guys are very smart. I want to say that. I'm not trying to blow smoke up your butt, but take it anyways. You guys are quite intelligent with your commentary, of both, whether it's about movies, politics, or whatever topic you guys choose. It's a very well done episode. You can tell that you prepare for the show. So again, that's a No Redeeming Quality podcast. You guys cover a variety of topics in a fun way. So I highly recommend your show.
Well, thank you. If you want to check that out, you can find us at nrqpodcast.com and anywhere else podcasts are found.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you so much. And my closing for this show is, remember, in front of every silver lining, there's a cloud, and we're here to help you find it. Thanks for listening. All right, that's it.
All right, man. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
That was fun. I've actually got an Arnold Schwarzenegger podcast idea, but I got to run because the Astros game's coming on soon.
Yeah, enjoy.
But I'm gonna text it to you. So I'm curious what you think about it.
Awesome, Zip. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. See you.
Bye-bye.